It was one of those evenings when the apartment felt too still, too aware of his absence. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound keeping me company. I missed Mike more than I wanted to admit. He'd been away on another business trip for 4 days, and though we texted and called, something inside me felt hollow. So, without thinking too much, I grabbed my phone and hit video call. I smiled when his face appeared, at least at first. He looked startled, like he hadn't expected to see me. "Hey, stranger," I joked, trying to sound lighthearted. "I thought those meetings would have drained you by now." He laughed a little too quickly, rubbing the back of his neck. "Court, wow, hey. Yeah, it's been insane. I was actually about to call you." I raised an eyebrow. "You always say that," I teased. "You at the hotel again?" "Yeah," he said, shifting his phone. "Same one. You know, the one with the terrible Wi-Fi." That's when I noticed the mirror behind him. Large, clean, and perfectly angled. Something flickered in it, a blur, soft and swift. Hair, long hair. My stomach clenched before my mind could catch up. I squinted, my smile faltering. "Mike," I said slowly, my voice almost whispering, "Who's that?" He froze, just for a second, but I saw it. The kind of stillness that happens when someone's caught. Then came the laugh, forced and thin. "What?" "Oh, it's just the TV. Reflection's weird in this lighting." His words didn't land right. They sounded rehearsed, like a line he'd practiced. I looked closer. There was no flicker, no movement, no sound of a television. Just that mirror, holding a truth he was scrambling to hide. "You're not watching TV, Mike," I said quietly, my throat tightening. For a moment, I thought he might come clean. Instead, he shifted the camera so fast it made me dizzy. All I could see now was the ceiling, a lamp, his hand shaking slightly as he adjusted the angle. My chest tightened, that awful, suffocating kind of pressure that comes when your heart already knows the answer. But your mind refuses to accept it. "Court, you're overthinking again," he said softly. But there was something hollow in his tone. My stomach turned. The call felt colder now, heavier. "Yeah," I muttered, trying to steady my voice. "Maybe I am." But deep down, I knew I wasn't. I just couldn't prove it. Yet. After we hung up, I just sat there, staring at the black screen of my phone. His frozen smile still lingered in my mind, like an echo that refused to fade. The apartment suddenly felt smaller, as if the walls had drawn closer. Every familiar sound, the hum of the fridge, the ticking clock, felt intrusive, mocking almost. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, that I'd imagined the movement. But that reflection, it had felt too real to dismiss. I got up and poured myself a glass of water, my hands trembling just enough to make the glass clink against the counter. My thoughts spun in circles. Who was she? Why lie about something so small, unless it wasn't small at all? I could still hear his nervous laugh, still see that flicker of guilt in his eyes before he masked it with charm. That image wouldn't let go. It clung to me, like static electricity after a storm. I stood by the window, staring at the quiet street below, the night stretching endlessly. A gut feeling, a woman's instinct, settled deep inside me, sharp and cold. Something was wrong. And I wasn't going to rest until I knew what. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that reflection again, the shimmer of movement, the way Mike's face tightened just before he lied. My mind kept replaying it, like a film I couldn't pause. Part of me wanted to believe him. The other part whispered, "You saw what you saw." By morning, my chest felt heavy, like I'd swallowed something that refused to go down. I made coffee, but it tasted bitter, no matter how much sugar I added. My hands shook as I scrolled through old photos of us, smiles, vacations, anniversaries. All those moments that now felt staged, I needed to tell someone, to say it out loud, if only to hear how crazy it sounded. So I messaged Sophie, my best friend, the one person who's always known how to calm my storms. "I swear I saw someone in his room," I typed. The dots blinked for a few seconds before her reply came through. Maybe it was housekeeping. I stared at the message, biting my lip. "At 9:30 at night? With long blonde hair?" I wrote back. Her response came slower this time. "Court, maybe you're just tired." Maybe I was. Or maybe I was finally seeing the truth I'd ignored for too long. That night, I couldn't stop myself. I opened Instagram, then Facebook, then even LinkedIn. Anywhere I might find something. Anything. That would make sense of what I'd seen. My thumb moved on autopilot, scrolling through strangers' lives, looking for clues in places I had no business looking. It was ridiculous, I knew that. But when you sense betrayal, logic doesn't stand a chance against instinct. And then, there it was. A picture tagged at the same hotel Mike claimed to be staying in. A blonde woman, hair curled perfectly, holding a glass of wine in a dimly lit room. Her caption read, "Another unforgettable night. Luxury stay." The timestamp hit me like a punch. It matched the exact night of Mike's client dinner. My pulse quickened. The world suddenly too loud. I zoomed in, scanning every detail. The wallpaper, the headboard, even the lamp in the corner. All of it. The same as in Mike's call. I sat there in the dark, the only light coming from my phone screen. Unforgettable. Yeah, I bet it was, I thought bitterly. My reflection in the glass window looked unfamiliar. Tired eyes, tense jaw, disbelief flickering into anger. It wasn't just about a woman anymore. It was about a truth that had been hiding behind every "I love you," every "I'm working late." And I wasn't sure if I was ready to face what came next. I barely noticed the hours slipping by. My coffee had gone cold, untouched, while I sat there replaying every conversation Mike and I'd had that week. His tone, his pauses, the moments he avoided eye contact on video. It all made sense now, fitting together like pieces of a cruel puzzle. I felt like a fool for needing proof, for giving him the benefit of the doubt when my gut had been screaming the truth all along. The next morning, I tried to go about my day as if nothing had changed. I folded laundry, watered the plants, answered a few emails, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. Every ordinary task felt hollow, meaningless. I caught myself glancing at the phone, half expecting him to call, half dreading that he would. I wanted to hear his voice and confront him at the same time. A war between craving honesty and fearing it. By evening, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to accuse him. Not yet. I wanted to see it, to catch the lie in motion. If there was another woman, I'd find out on my own. So when I picked up my phone that night, my heart was calm, but cold. This time, I wasn't calling to say I miss you. I was calling to catch the truth. The next evening, I told myself to stay calm. My hands trembled slightly as I positioned the phone, but my voice had to sound effortless. Soft, familiar, like nothing had changed. When Mike answered, he looked surprised again, almost wary this time. "Hey, love," I said, my tone light and teasing. "Miss you. Show me your room. I want to see how fancy this place really is." He blinked, hesitating just a second too long. Babe? I'm actually running late," he said, forcing a grin. I could hear muffled movement in the background, like fabric shifting or a drawer closing. "It'll take 2 seconds," I said, keeping my smile. "Humor me." I could tell he was searching for an excuse, but instead he sighed and flipped the camera around. The screen showed the bed, the minibar, the curtains, everything perfectly ordinary. Too ordinary, like a stage cleaned before the show began. But one thing stood out. He avoided the mirror. Every angle he showed was deliberate, precise, like a magician controlling what the audience could see. My heart thudded in my chest. "It's nice," I said sweetly, pretending to admire the room. "That mirror behind you looks huge, though. Show me the full thing." His body stiffened. That's when I knew. Whatever was hiding in that reflection, it wasn't just furniture. For a moment, Mike didn't say anything. The silence stretched, thick enough to feel. Then came that nervous laugh again, the same one I'd heard during our first call. "It's just a mirror, Court," he said lightly, but his hand twitched and the camera wobbled. I caught a flash of something, color, texture, before he angled it away again. "Then why not show it?" I asked, my voice steady, even though my pulse was racing. He hesitated, eyes darting between the screen and something behind him. Finally, with a sigh, he turned the phone, slowly, reluctantly, toward the mirror. And there it was, the reflection, a purse on the bed, a glass of wine, half full, and just beside it, unmistakably, the smooth curve of a woman's leg under the blanket. My breath caught in my throat, my mind struggling to process what my eyes were screaming. It was like time froze, every sound around me fading into silence. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just stared at him through the screen, memorizing the look on his face, the flicker of panic, the instant realization that it was over. "You might want to tell her she left her glass full," I said quietly, a calmness in my voice that surprised even me. His face drained of color. Then, just like that, the screen went black. Call ended. For a long moment, I just stared at my reflection on the blank phone screen. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. The silence in the apartment felt different now. Colder, sharper, like it knew something I hadn't wanted to admit. I set the phone down gently on the table, then sat beside it, breathing slowly, letting the truth settle in like dust after a storm. He'd done it. He'd really done it. And somehow, the calm scared me more than the anger ever could. My mind began to wander through our past. The anniversaries, the late-night calls, the promises whispered in the dark. Every memory now had an ugly shadow trailing behind it. I tried to cry, but no tears came. Maybe it was shock, or maybe it was clarity. Because in that moment, something inside me shifted. The ache turned into focus, the heartbreak into purpose. I wasn't going to beg, or shout, or chase answers. I was going to plan. I picked up my phone again, saved the call recording, and placed it carefully in a folder. My pulse steadied as I labeled it. The reflection. I didn't know exactly what I'd do yet, but I knew this much. He'd shown me who he was, and I was about to show him who I'd become. 3 days later, I heard the sound of his key turning in the lock. That familiar metallic click that used to make me feel safe now felt like a warning. He walked in with his suitcase wearing that same easy smile, the one that used to melt me. "Hey, sweetheart," he said softly. "I'm back." I looked up from the couch, pretending to be casual, my expression neutral. "How was your trip?" I asked, folding my arms. "Productive?" He chuckled lightly. "Yeah, long meetings, exhausting. I missed you like crazy." His voice had that careful tone, gentle, measured, like he was testing the ground before stepping forward. I studied his face, every twitch, every flicker of guilt. For a second, I almost pitied him. Almost. Then I reached for my phone, unlocked it, and pressed play. The familiar image filled the screen. The hotel room, the purse, the wine glass, and that leg under the blanket. The sound filled the living room, crisp and undeniable. Mike froze, eyes glued to the video. His smile vanished, replaced by a flicker of panic. "Courtney," he began, his voice cracking. "It's not what it looks like." I tilted my head slightly, my tone calm but cutting. "Funny," I said. "She looked pretty comfortable for a client meeting." He stepped closer, hands raised like I was something fragile he could still fix. "Court, please," he stammered. "You're overreacting. It was a mistake. Just dinner, a few drinks. It didn't mean anything." I let out a quiet, humorless laugh. "You didn't just cheat, Mike," I said softly. "You lied. You lied while looking me in the eye, while pretending to miss me." I held his gaze until he looked away, jaw tightening like a child caught in a lie. He tried again, his voice desperate now. "It's not what you think. She's just someone from work. Things got out of hand." I shook my head slowly. "Things don't get out of hand, Mike. You let them." My tone was calm, but inside, something was burning, an anger that wasn't loud, but deep, steady, and precise. "Do you even know what that reflection did to me? Watching you lie to me while she was right there?" For a moment, he didn't speak. The silence stretched between us like a canyon, filled with all the things we'd never said. I watched him, his shoulders slumping, his eyes darting anywhere but mine. "I'm sorry," he whispered finally, but the words felt cheap, worn out from overuse. I turned off the video, placed the phone face down, and said the only thing left to say: "You will be." After that, he tried everything. Excuses, apologies, promises that dripped with desperation but held no weight. I didn't raise my voice once. I just listened, arms crossed, watching the man I thought I knew unravel in front of me. It was strange, really. I'd spent years fearing the day I'd lose him, and yet, sitting there, watching him squirm under the truth, I realized I already had, long before that reflection ever exposed him. He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Court, please," he begged. "We can fix this. I'll do anything." I looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, I didn't see my husband. I saw a stranger wearing his face, fluent in my weaknesses but foreign to my heart. "There's nothing to fix," I said quietly. "You broke it, and now you get to live with the pieces." His lips parted, as if to argue, but the words never came. Only silence. That night, he slept in the guest room, and I lay awake staring at the ceiling. I thought about all the times I'd covered for him, believed him, loved him blindly. But something inside me had shifted. This wasn't grief anymore. It was resolve. By morning, I knew exactly what I needed to do. And this time, I wasn't going to warn him first. The morning light crept through the blinds, soft and golden, but it felt wasted on him. He was still asleep in the guest room, peaceful, unaware, undeserving. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open, my coffee untouched, and a folder of screenshots spread across the screen. The reflection photo, the timestamps, the receipts from his so-called business dinners. Proof, layered in truth he couldn't twist. I'd spent years trusting him with my heart. Now I was trusting myself with the consequences. I started small, quiet moves. I opened a new bank account, shifted my savings, canceled every joint card we had. Each click was deliberate, satisfying in a way I hadn't expected. It wasn't revenge yet. It was preparation. Control. For once, the balance was tipping back toward me. Every transfer felt like a breath of freedom I didn't know I'd been holding for years. Then came the final step. I opened a new email, typed the subject line slowly. "Misconduct during company-funded travel. Evidence attached." My hands didn't shake this time. I attached the screenshots, the video stills, the hotel check-in record he'd stupidly left on our shared calendar. Before hitting send, I smiled, small, calm, certain. Then I pressed the button. The sound of that soft whoosh was the sweetest thing I'd ever heard. It didn't take long. By late afternoon, my phone buzzed with an email receipt confirming that the message had been opened, by multiple recipients. HR, legal, even his supervisor. I could almost picture the moment he was called in, the confusion on his face melting into panic. Somewhere between guilt and arrogance, he'd forgotten that consequences eventually catch up. I leaned back in my chair, a calmness settling over me like a warm blanket. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe. When the door slammed later that evening, I didn't flinch. He stormed in, eyes blazing, phone in hand. "You ruined my job, my reputation," he shouted, veins straining in his neck. I stayed seated, legs crossed, utterly still. "No, Mike," I said quietly. "You did." I just held up the mirror. The words hit him harder than I expected. For a split second, he looked smaller, deflated, like the truth had finally stripped him down to something raw and human. "You'll regret this," he spat, voice trembling. I stood then, slow and deliberate, meeting his eyes. "I already did," I said softly, "every time I believed you." He stared at me, speechless, as I walked past him to the closet. My suitcase was already packed. Everything else, the house, the silence, the mess, he could keep. I was done living inside his reflection. He followed me to the door, still shouting, words that no longer reached me. Every accusation, every plea slid off me like rain on glass. I'd spent years being the one who bent, softened, forgave. Not this time. I stopped by the threshold, my suitcase handle firm in my grip. The air felt different now, lighter, cleaner. "Goodbye, Mike," I said, not looking back. Behind me, he kept talking, his voice breaking under the weight of what he'd lost. But I was already gone, long before the door closed between us. Outside, the world felt alive again. The evening breeze brushed my face, cool and honest. Cars passed, people laughed on sidewalks, and I realized how small his lies were compared to everything waiting beyond them. I took a deep breath, one that didn't taste like suspicion or silence. It tasted like freedom. I wasn't angry anymore, just done. There's a difference, and it's everything. As I walked away, my phone buzzed with another message from HR confirming that Mike had been placed on leave pending investigation. I smiled faintly, not out of spite, but closure. Sometimes revenge isn't fire or fury, it's truth, standing tall in the daylight. And in that moment, I knew I'd never need to look back at his reflection again. Months have passed and my life feels unrecognizable in the best possible way. I spend my mornings at a little cafe near the park, a place filled with soft chatter, the smell of espresso, and sunlight that spills across the tables. I sit by the window with my laptop, working, writing, breathing. The peace isn't loud, it's gentle, steady. I used to think happiness was something reflected back at you from someone else's eyes. Now I know it's something you build quietly, within your own reflection. One afternoon, my phone buzzes, a message from Sophie. "You look radiant lately. What changed?" I smile at the screen for a moment before typing back. I stopped waiting for someone else to reflect happiness back at me. I found my own. I hit send and glance up, catching my reflection in the cafe mirror. There's no trace of the woman who once second-guessed herself for someone else's comfort. Just me, calm, confident, free. As I take a sip of my coffee, I realize something beautiful. Revenge wasn't the ending. It was the beginning. The mirror that once exposed betrayal now shows peace. My reflection isn't a reminder of what I lost. It's proof of what I reclaimed.